Hello friends, this is Ganesh and video number 7 on ABAP. So in this video is going to see about transport request, very important and very interesting concept. Probably quite new for the people who are coming from a different background to the product level development, especially I can say in SAP. It's very simple. Few or more concepts are involved here. So once you start working on it, it's everything is easy for you. Let's get into that. So this is the continuation of previous video. It's a system landscape and package. This one I explained, like if you want to move any custom developments, you need to save it in a custom package, and that needs to be moved to quality, and everything is fine and they will move to production. So the frequency of development quality is more because of bug or it's any change request comes. So we have to do it until it finalize the full-fledged shape. So they have to wait in quality. So once all done, then they move to production. So this is a way to move any object between the server. You need a custom package. Okay, and package has the hierarchy, structure, main, and developments. Everything we have seen. One additional point, if you want to move any developments or any custom development, custom object, maybe a table or program or function module, class and method, whatever it is, that needs a custom package. Point one. Second one, that needs or that associated with a transport request. Maybe the last video, in the last few minutes, I showed you transport request. Also, some number is generated. So that's one. That is the one. Okay, so every object should associated with a transport request. Without transport request, you can't move a single object or single data from one server to another server. Okay, so that is very important, transport request. And even every year they just do an audit to the transport request also. So you can't just like that create a transport request for your development. So it should be very sensitive. So make sure you have a solid transport request for all objects or associated with your transport request, then move to quality. For example, once you start developing, you have some dependent objects. Like if you take a table, table has some fields, it has data elements and domains. These are hierarchy and dependent objects. So domain is depends on data element. Suppose by mistake, if you keep a domain in a local object, or it used to happen initially, or if you keep a domain in a different transport request, transport number 2, and all other table data elements or belongs to transport number 1. So you move everything to quality except the particular domain. So that is either in a local object or in a different transport. What happens once it to quality, it goes to dump. Dump in the sense a runtime error. So normally it should not happen. While importing your transport request to quality itself, they're getting a dump, means it's ended with the error. So movement of transport request from development to quality is not successful. So ended with the error because the dependent object is missing. Okay, so it's you have to be very careful. Just add all the dependent objects in a transport request before move to any other server. Okay, and so how to create a transport request? So this is 2 points you have to maintain. So one is your object should be in a custom package and the object is associated with the transport request. And the transaction code to create a transport request is SE01, SE03, SE10. So 3 different transactions with their own property. Mostly we use SE01 to create the transactions. To create the transport request. So now once the same example I can take, I have 5 programs and 3 tables for my project, and everything is created and added in the custom package. So every time at the initial stage, it will ask, once you save the object in a custom package, it will ask what is your transport request. The request may be already created one, or it can be newly created from the same window. So both options we can use. So if you used, and you have to select which transport request should be created, should be associated, not created, associated with my development. So I'm going to keep all the 5 programs and 3 tables inside this transport request only. Okay, so this is a carrier of your objects. So mostly this is the combination, 4 alphabets and 6-digit number. It's a 10 digit or 10 characters of is nothing but a transport request. Okay. So another technical term we call as change request. So either we can say CR or TR, change request or transport request, both are same. Okay, once the development, unit testing, everything is done, all the objects are ready to move to quality for next level of testing, then you have to release this transport. So there are some process depends on the customer. As a developer, you can release the object or yeah, as a developer, you are able to release the transport request in a SE01 transaction, or in sometimes we have to inform to our lead, they will do it, or basis people will do it. Depends on the customer or depends on the client, how they configured, how their process. Okay, so don't worry about it. So the term would be if the transport is ready, that needs to be released first from your development server. Once it is released, little technical, it creates a core and data file in the backend. Okay, so then the bases will take the core and data file and they put it in the quality server. They have to import this transport. These are the steps. Okay, just you aware of it. We are not going to do that. So bases will move the transport request along with the core and data file to the quality server. The same way they have to move to production as well. Okay, so this is the way how the transport is generated, released, and move to quality server or next server. And I already mentioned the frequency of development and quality is more. So once it is moved to, for example, you remember the zero, transport number end with zero, it's moved to quality and is create, keep on, they are testing it and they'll say some, there is a bug, there is a change. So keep on some changes are added in the development server. So if there is any change, you have to go and do it over here. Okay. And another point, once the transport is released, you are not able to use it. So no longer you are able to use the transport request. Once it is, that's it, gone. You have to create another transport request. You have to request to create it. Okay, I need one more transport because my existing transport associated to my program is released. Okay, now I need to create it. So that time, if you go to the program or any object, if you click save, whether the transport is released, after that if you go and click save, it will ask what is another transport number. Okay, because the request is released already, so it needs some other transport number. So we have to create it. So it's keep on going, that transport creation is keep on going. It depends on how critical the issues and changes. So once everything is done, your quality look like this. So you have maybe 0, 2, 4, 6, 4 different transport got generated in development server, released it and moved to quality. So this is the final. So they just test everything all good. They decided to move to production. Then they will move the set of transport to production as well. So transport request is a carrier to move your objects between the servers. Okay, so they have a sequence. They're not going to dump everything in one by one. There are some procedures. So they have to give 0 first, 2, 4, 6, because there may be some dependent objects as well. Okay, so they can't move just like that. They have some procedure. And another one, they have to move at the very less traffic time. So meaning the production is not used much, not so many end users are using production system. So in the maybe night time, I already mentioned this, I believe, or at the weekends they used to move it. Okay, so this is the process. So if you want to move a single object, a small program or a small data element or a domain, you need a custom package, and also the object is associated with the transport request. Okay, so hope it's clear for you what is transport request. So TR or CR, change request or transport request. Okay, and these are the three transaction code: SE01, SE03, and SE10 for your transport request. Mostly we go with SE01. Another point. So there are three types or three ways of transport request we have: workbench, customizing, transport of Corpus. Okay, we'll see one by one. Before that, we'll see how the TR is get structured. Okay, so it's an auto-generated number. So every time if you create either workbench or customizing, it will create a transport in this way. Okay, so this is called main request, some 10-digit alphanumeric number, And another one is task request, again 10-digit alphanumeric number. It's maybe sequentially. Okay, so the idea behind us, you have one main request. You can have either one or multiple task requests. So if you are an independent developer, mostly you have one main and one task request. And if the transport is created for a project, normally the team lead creates one main request, and under the team lead, how many developers? So each developer has its own transport request. Okay, so each task request is going to assign to the developer SAP ID. Okay, if it is a 5 developers, they have 5 different transport requests, so they will just add their own developments in that particular transport request only. So very technically task request only. So once they've done the development, they have to release their own task request, not the main one. So maybe the time frequency, so first 2 days task 5 is completed and task 1 is completed. So another very next day, the task 2, 3, 4. So other 3 developers also completed the development. So end of the day, they will release all the end of the day, all the task requests getting released. Okay. Finally, if this is okay, test by technical lead, all the unit tests, everything is performed, everything looks good, and they decided, okay, let's move this to quality. Then they will release the main request. Okay. So this is the procedure. Every user ID has its own task request. I'll show you in the system also. Okay. So the next one is we'll see about workbench request. What type of object? Workbench request holds only objects, meaning it can be a table or a program, domain, class, method, smart form, whatever you create inside the SAP start with Z or Y. It needs to be coming under workbench request. That's called, we call it as objects. Any objects, it's going to under workbench request only. Customizing request, any data. So if you want to move a data, mostly data is belongs to the configuration. If you do any configuration, it leads to a data only at the end, right? So that data needs to be moved to development to quality as well as to production. So mostly functional people work or related with customizing request. Okay, so this is some examples I showed you. Z program number, these are program names, these are tables. Okay, but it actually in a very structured way, it creates a folder for each object type. If it is a program, it creates a program. Under program, what are the program names? If it is a table, table. If it is a class, class and methods, enhancements, smart forms. Okay, it creates automatically, the system creates a folder for each object. Then it will display the list of the object. And customizing also, they have very structured way. These are some examples I'm showing here. So I can say it's a client number, this is a plant, this is a material, and this is again client number, and this is another plant, and this is another material. Okay, so this way they used to keep all the data in the customizing request. Transport of corpus. This is quite interesting concept. Transport of corpus. The time being, I'm saying it has data as well as object. Okay, so only that you remind your mind. So transport corpus can hold object as well as data. And transport of copies has only one request. You don't have a main task under. It has only one request. So hope able to clear about workbench customizing and transport of copies. Yeah, this is for workbench and customizing have main and as well as task. And about transport of copies, just keep everything in mind. I'll show you in the system so you can relate it the same thing with the system. So transport of copies is like include the data from different existing transport. I just read these three and I will give us some scenarios. It's then very easy to understand. So idea is it can include different existing transport. I'm not going to create any object at that time. I want transport copies. That is not possible. Okay, so the first line is a very clear. If you want to include any of the object from existing transport, use transport copies. Okay, one. Second point, it able to add objects as well as data. In the previous slide, it showed the same thing. So it can add include objects from workbench or data from customizing transport to TOC. Very short, we call it as TOC, transport of copies. What is the scope of TOC? What is the time frame of TOC? If you ask what is the time frame for workbench request, time frame till it ends the target system. What's the target system? Production. Okay, so development, start from development to quality and production, you can do it. But for transport copies, very next system, once the transport of copy request reach the very next system, it dies. Okay, means the scope is done. So further you can't move the same transport to another system. So that is the scope of transport copies. Clear? Now the scenario, why transport copies? When we can use a transport copies, transport of copies. Scenario one, you have a transport layer designed. Yesterday I showed you, right? STMS transaction. You can see how the transport layer is designed: development to quality, quality to production. Dot. Okay. Suppose I have a training system that is not coming under any transport layer. That's not mapped with development system. Maybe not mapped with the quality system. Okay, but I want to move some data or objects from my development system to training system. Okay, so in that case, I can able to create a transport of copies. Okay, then I can include whatever object is required from my existing transport. Okay, I include it. Then I can send it to a training system where it is not available in the transport layer. So this is one scenario. If you want to send any of your objects to the any other server which is not in the transport layer, you can go with transport of copies. Okay, this is one scenario. Another scenario might be some places we are using it. If there is a big project, end of the project, the go live, we call it as go live. Once you move all the changes to production, you may have 100 transports, right? May have 100 transports. It's very difficult to maintain. So to avoid generating unnecessary transports, I'm talking about workbench transport or customizing, not TOC. What we can do is, for example, I have 3 programs, I generated it, I moved to quality. So everything is working fine. Okay, there is one small issue. Okay, all are good. A small line to be added in my program 3, and that needs to be done from development only, right? So if it is a workbench request, what you have to do, you have to go to development, change it, save it. It will ask, what is your transport request, right? So now what I can do is, instead of creating a workbench request, you can add the existing program from program 3 to from your existing transport to transport copies and just do a save. Okay, and move it to quality. So what happens once the transport TOC is moved to quality, it ends. Okay, it won't go to production, but the program gets modified. Okay, so if how many transports, for example, I have 3 transports initially, I moved everything and I want one more small change. If you go with workbench, even transport is like getting added by 4, then the 4 transport requests move to production. But if you use transport of copies only for the particular change, what happens, the change moves from development to quality with the help of TOC, but still quality has only 3 transport request, not the 4th one, because I'm using TOC, not the workbench. So only the 3 transport can be moved to production. So this is another scenario. Okay, so these are the ways you are able to use a TOCs. So the idea is transport of copies is like move the objects or data to a server which is not in the transport layer, and it just avoid unnecessary creating a workbench request. The count is getting decreased if you use TOC. Okay, so just like that, you can create TOC. Just discuss with your team. If they are okay, you can go ahead with the TOCs. So if that is the case, instead of 100 transport, maybe I have only 50. So it will avoid the memories. It will avoid to import all the informations. No need to maintain the big Excel sheet to maintain whatever transports are available. So I can say instead of 100, you can have only 50 to 60 transport, almost 40 transport you can save if you use transport of copies for a small minor changes or like that. Okay, so hope you can understand. I will explain, I will show you how the TOC works. Just play around with that. Okay, anything else? No. Okay, I'll show you in the system. So start with creation of workbench request. So let me go to Okay, let me start from this way. I'm going to create a program. So the transport requests required at the initial time, not all the time whenever you save your program. So my program is, excuse me, program 10. So today I start with number 10. So no logic involved because we are going to learn about the transport request. Now the package, the last, if you have seen my last video, these are the package which I used, ZFI objects. I believe it's a development object, development package. Let's see, save it. Yes. Then we'll ask, what is your transport request? So any object is associated with a custom package, custom development package, automatically it will ask what is your transport request. It needs a transport request. Okay. So I don't have anything on my own. Let me go to create it. TR for FI module. So because I need some text to be searched, this has lot of transport, but in real time, every ID is associated with the transport request. So we have very less transport, very easy to identify. So click save. So this is the transport request. Initial time we used to copy paste in an Excel, what is a transport, or in a notepad for our reference. After that is used to it. So very simple, very easy to identify your own transports. That's it. Okay. Okay, I didn't act toward it. Just go back, save it. Let me have one more program. Same package. This window used to take latest used transport for your user. So my user is the best, so I use this transport only. That's why it just take the same transport request. If not, you have to go to own request. You need to find out. So here anyway it comes in the first one, TR for FI module. Just double click. Just continue. So I have two objects now. Okay. So let me activate my second program, not the first one. Now go to SE01. So here you have an option like what you want to see. You want to customize or workbench or transport of copies, and you want what status of your transport, whether a released one you want to see or modifiable one. Now I want to see only modifiable. Just click display. So here it's difficult because it's an ascending order, I believe. Let me find out FI module. Yeah, here it is. This is my request. Let me copy because it's very little easy to see. If you see only your transport, just go back and there is an option, go to display. Excuse me. So give your transport request name and click display. It will take only yours. Yeah, this is fine. So this is my main, and oh sorry, this is my main 510 and this is my task. Okay, main request and is a task request, and under the task I have two more programs. So now I want to create one more task request for a different developer. Okay, so developer ID should be different, but here it's always best. Okay, so keep the cursor over here and use like add user. Okay, so add user is nothing but I'm going to add a developer ID. So every developer has its unique SAP ID. So just click add user. Here I don't have an option. I have to go the same user ID best. It generate one more task request. Okay, and it shows unclassified because it doesn't have any data inside it. Means any object is not added it. So let me add an object /show SE38. So far we created only program. That's why I just always go with the program executable, same package. Now ask what is the transport request. I'm saying okay, go to one request. This is the one, expand it, and this is the one which I want, right? This object. So just click W513, just continue, save it, just go to your request, enter. So enter is for refresh. It's automatically changed, development and correction. So it says 513. Okay, just expand. It has a folder. That's why I told right. It's actually structured way. Transport, program, and the program name. Clear? So once everything is done, you have to release your transport request. Release your task request first, and then you have to release your main. Now I'm going to release. So before release, make sure all the changes are done, because you just like that you can't create any transport request in the real time, because count is very matter for transport request. So here, make sure changes are done, make sure all the objects are active. Mine is some objects are not active, some objects are active. Okay, and you can able to test this, you can able to check the syntax, check there's any error or not. So right click over here, or one second inside, keep the this is developer one, this is developer two. Okay, so developer one is going to check their transport request. So go here, complete check, syntax check, just click. It will just check all the objects, everything is green, release allowed, so we are good to go. Okay, so user means the developer one, they're able to release the transport request, task request. So here there is a lorry icon, release directly. Okay, if you have authorization you can do it, otherwise your team lead or the basis will take care. Just click. If it is any error, it will show you. If any inactive objects are there, it shows this program or this object is not active. Okay, then we have to activate it and come and do the release again. Yes, so it shows I have two programs. Program 10 is inactive. So what is another program? Go back. So maybe program 11 or 12, I believe. Okay, 5, 11, right? So 10 and 11. So 10 is not active. So just double click. From here also you're able to go, because double click is the best part in SAP. So if you double click any object, it will take you to the concern transaction to start to order. So I'm active, my program 10 is active. I want to double check program 11 as well. Just double click. Yeah, that is also active. So we are good to go. Now click, means keep the cursor and click the lorry icon. It's released. Normally it's a tick mark. Okay, it's actually a tick mark. So it's released. Now you're not able to use this transport. If you try to use this transport, you'll get a error. This transport is already released. So before going to that, let me release the entire one, because I have a same user. If I go and save the program 10, this is also belongs to the same user. So it automatically pick this transport request. Okay. So but in real time, everyone has a different user ID. So user ID is also associated with the transport request. So let me release this transport. Okay. So it's not active. So go to program 12 and activate it. Okay, it's already open somewhere. Let's change or just close this. Okay. Activate it. Yeah, it's active. Go back and release this also. Same lorry icon. It's released, and finally everything is okay. Then finally release your main request. Okay, again program 10. 1 second. Yeah. Okay, so this will ask, it will, because my main task is not created. The problem is with the same user ID. So my main task is not released. If I activate, it will automatically say it will going to create another task request in the same user ID. Okay, so you want to do that. Okay, let it be. Go back and just enter. See, it's added because of the same username. So let me go here, release this, and finally I have to release my main request. So technically in backend, it just creates the day and data and co file, and it's keep on refreshing. You press enter, so it will show you what is happening. It's kind of log. So it's done. So completed. Sometimes I told, right, some dependent object. I will show you when I start taking a table. If some dependent objects are not in the same transport, you will get an error, and it shows what is the error, why the error come, which object is not involved. Okay. So now it's ready for QAS. It's not moved to QAS. Then manually they have to do the co1 data file and they have to import this transport, then you will get the same 3 lines over here as well. Create, completed. And again, if they move to production, you'll get that one as well. Okay, so that is a transport log. So you can see where your request is. Now still the request is in development, but it got released, but did not move to quality. Okay, so there's a transport log. Now again, go to some program 11. So let me add some lines over here. Save it. Now it asks. So every time it won't get the transport request. First time it will come, and whenever the transport is released from the program, again you try to save it, it will ask what is the new transport request for this. So if you try to place the released one, let me copy this, or any task. Okay, continue. It shows, okay, once again there is a gap. Okay, continue. It shows task has already released, so you're not able to use it. So go with own one if you have already, or just again click a create, change request for FI module. That's it. So another one's got created. It started with 10, previous one, now it's 15. Continue. So now go to your transport request, go back, and here it's 15 F8. Sorry, display. So you'll get main, task, and the task has the program. Okay, got it? Let me show you how to create a transport from SE01, and I'll show you the customizing transport also. Let me create a transport here. Okay, whatever it is, here I'm going to click create button. It will ask what do you want to create, what type of request you want to create, customizing, workbench, or transport of Corpus. Let me create a workbench first, then go to customizing. Workbench, okay, workbench request for FI module. It just created it and it unclassified because there is no object. So this is my workbench request. Go back and create a customizing request. Just continue. CTR for FI module. So this is my customizing request. Okay, and 519 is my customizing request. And let me open my workbench request also. I believe it's 17. Yes, so this is my workbench and this is my customizing. So the only difference you can see is the name, workbench request, and target system is quality. Here also target system is quality, and this is a customizing request. The structure wise it's same, modifiable. Okay, here they mentioned one more additional option is client number, because customizing is belongs to all the data. Data is always belongs to a client number. Okay, it's a client dependent only. I will show you how to add a customizing data over here. You know how to add the workbench request, right? And before going to that, the system itself recognized what type of transport to be choose. For example, I have a program 10. So the existing transporters got released. Let me save it again. It will ask, okay, and it shows very clearly only the workbench request. Okay, so if I go to say, okay, add 19 is my customizing request. So continue. It will show you cannot use this request because this is customizing. You can't use this for any object. You can use only the workbench request. So workbench request end with 17. Continue. It's added. So now go to workbench request, press enter. So the program is added over here. Okay, so now I'm going to add data to my customizing request, this one. So for that, we have a concept called TVARV variable. I'll show you once in the next video. Just for your reference, there is a table, kind of table. It's a variable. It has a data. I want to move that data to quality server. So if there's a data to be moved, you need a customizing request. Okay. So forget about the transaction and everything. So just concentrate only how we are moving the data. So this is the table name TVRVC, and I have already created some data for testing. I want to move everything. Okay, just select it, or if you want only few, I can use few. I want only this. So 3 records to be moved. Okay, 2, 3. Select it, just click more, table entry, transport entries. Okay, just clicked it. It will ask which transport you want to use. If I say 17, it shows very clearly only customizing request. 17 is my workbench request. Just continue. It shows very clearly you cannot use this request. Okay, because this is data. So I have to use only customizing request. Continue. It's done. Go back to your customizing request, press enter. Yes, it has some expansion over here. It shows it has a table contents. Just continue. What is the table content? It shows the table name as well. TV average. Okay. What is it? What is there? Data is there. Okay. The same way you have to release also. So just click here and click release. Task is released and click here and released. So these are same. Okay, so now you have an idea about what is workbench request, what is customizing request, and what goes under workbench and what goes under customizing. Press enter for refresh. Done. Okay, the next one is, if you have any doubt, please let me know. The next one is transport of copies. Now my idea is I have some programs, program 10, 11, 12, and I have few data. Now I need a small update in my program. So program 10 and 12 I have. I want only 10 to be updated, and out of 2 data, I want only 1 data to be updated. Okay. So what I can do is create a transport of copies. I don't want to create one more workbench, one more customizing. Okay. To avoid that, I'm going to create a transport of copies. So I used to unselect it. You don't want to do anything for creation. Just click create transport of copies, enter. It will ask. So TOC for FI module. It creates only one transport request. Okay, not more than one. There is no task, only main. Then what you have to do is you have to include the object inside this transport of copies. There is an option called include object. So what do you want to do? So you have this is a very best option. Either you want to add everything from the request. Okay, I want to add everything from the request, but my scenario, I want just a program and few datas. That is the option. Or you can say I want only multiple requests. So one request is not enough. I want to go with multiple requests. So select and continue. It will give an option. What are the requests you want to be added? Whether the request is modifiable or released or restarted. What else you want to add? Okay. And another one is freely select object. We used to do that because only I don't want all the things from the request, right? Only one from the particular request. And here you can't use this in SE38 or any other objects. So directly how you're using workbench or customizing request. Okay, let me go to the program. Anyway, it's released. Click save and use this transport request. It gives the same error. You cannot use this transport request because TOC you can't go in the transaction level. Only this place where you can add whatever objects you want. That request may be released or not released. That doesn't matter. So I will go with freely selected objects for to pick the program, and this is my package, and I don't want all objects. I want selected objects, and the first one is programs, different objects, program, function, table, view, table type, data element, everything we'll see. We have a lot actually. Okay, and you only very limited over here. So now I want ZJI. It's here, program 10. Okay, execute F8. It will take. So this is the one. It just take. Okay, this is the program is already available. Do you want? Yes. Select it, and I think no need of select. Just click in request. It show a message. All objects were placed in the request. The request number. Go back here. You'll get it. Okay, and I want to include my transport of what is that, customizing request. So that is actually 19, right? So let me go here and click. 902.519. Enter. Yeah, it's a table content. So now you can see the table content as well as the object coming under TOC. Okay, so TOC accepts your workbench request objects as well as your content from your customization request. That is the beauty of TOC. So once you're done, you can go and do a change whatever you want, or you already changed it and moved to here. Anything is fine. So the object to be mapped with a transport request like TOC. So now if you want to modify anything, just double click, it will show you what are the things available here. Suppose you feel this is not required, I don't want, just play around here, just click change and play around what is needed, what is not required. Okay, just go back, everything is fine, just click and release. Process is same. So okay, specify a transport target, I think I missed it. Just double click, go to the property, change what is the target system. So because it's not in the transport layer, right? So you have to mention very clearly whether it's a go to quality or you want to go to any other training system. Here just mention PRD. Excuse me. Consider this a training system. I want to move this for a training system. I have a bunch of programs in my project. Only one program or a certain specific program and data to be moved to training, not all the things. You can use TOC. Continue. Save it. Go back and release. It shows as a warning message. Not all objects in the request could be logged. One information over here, if you assign any object to a workbench request, it shows that object is logged. It's a default, okay, practice. Once it is moved to any transport, it says it's logged. But here it says it could not, it says it could be logged. So do you want to release anyway? I said yes. So not all the objects in the request could be logged. Okay, it's actually a reverse way. Because this is a very specific request, TOC, that's why it shows it's not going to be logged anyway. I said okay, just click yes. Okay, same error. One second. Activate code. Okay, it's used again somewhere. It's open somewhere. Here I think. Yeah, closed it. Activate. Yeah, it's done. Go back. Release. Yeah, this message used to come once you release. Not all the objects could be logged. No issues because it's not a workbench. If it is workbench, obviously it's going to be logged. So just click yes. It's getting released. Press enter for refresh. Enter. Yes. Success. Okay, no error. Error means you will get a red color. Okay. So this TOC is also got released and is moved to training system. So this is the idea and beauty of TOC. Just understand, if you have a training system, play around with the transport, but if you have a client system, don't create a transport just like that. So it's very sensitive. So if you have any doubt on this, please let me know. I'll be happy to clear your doubts. So thank you for your time. Let's see in the another video. Thank you. Bye bye.